So we could play a game, or we could look at the level 6 spells. What do you guys think? I mean, I think I know what your answer's going to be, but let's do a little poll. Level 6 isn't happening. I think it is going to happen, mate. Right, so we have categories for our spells here. Damage, protection, disable, utility, or niche. And then we give them a score out of 3 in each category. Okay, anti-magic shell. So it's a 1 foot level diameter. It lasts 1 turn per level, so it lasts over 2 hours by the time we can cast. No, it lasts 2 hours at the time we can cast it. By means of this spell, the wizard surrounds himself with an invisible barrier that moves with him. The space within this barrier is totally impervious to all magic and magical spell effects, thus preventing the passage of spells or their effects. Likewise, it prevents the functioning of any magical items or spells within its confines. The area is also impervious to breath weapons, gaze, or voice attacks, and similar special attack forms. The anti-magic shell also hedges out charmed, summoned, or conjured creatures. It cannot, however, be forced against any creature that it would keep at bay. Any attempt to do so creates a discernible pressure against the barrier, and continued pressure will break the spell. Normal creatures, example, a normally encountered troll rather than a conjured one, for instance, can enter the area, as can normal missiles. Furthermore, while a magical sword does not function magically within the area, it's still a sword. Note that creatures on their home plane are normal creatures there, thus on the elemental plane of fire, a randomly encountered fire elemental cannot be kept at bay by this spell. Artifacts, relics, and creatures of demigod or higher status are unaffected by mortal magic such as this. Should the caster be larger than the area enclosed by the barrier, parts of his person may be considered exposed at the DM's option. A dispel magic spell does not remove the spell. The caster can end it upon command. The fact that I can end that upon command and it protects against breath weapons, and it's a 1 foot level diameter per level that lasts 2 hours, means that actually that in of itself is enough to protect against dispel magic. Thing is, if Scoria chose to attack us instead, we'd be very, very weak. And if I were to cancel it, then she could breath weapon and kill us. So it's kind of like dangerous to rely upon it. I think I give that a 2 for protection, actually. It's pretty good, but it does have some pretty serious drawback. It doesn't do any damage or disable. Alright, we know what Arrow of Bone does. That is like... that's the ultimate Scoria killing spell. It's niche, but it's also... it's very niche, but it is also great. Bigby's Forceful Hand. Okay, 10 yards per level, lasts 1 round per level, so about 12 minutes. Bigby's Forceful Hand is a more powerful version of Bigby's Interposing Hand. It creates a man-sized 5 foot to gargantuan-sized 21 foot hand that places itself between the caster and its chosen opponent. The disembodied hand then moves to remain between the two, regardless of what the spellcaster does or how the opponent tries to get around it. However, the Forceful Hand also pushes on the opponent. This force can push away a creature weighing 500 pounds or less, slow movement to 10 feet per round if the creature weighs between 500 and 2,000 pounds, or slow movement by 50% if the creature weighs more than 2,000 pounds. There's no save against it. A creature pushed away is pushed to the range limit or until pressed against an unyielding surface. The hand itself inflicts no damage. The Forceful Hand has an armor class of 20, has as many hit points as its caster in full health, and vanishes when destroyed. The caster can cause it to retreat to release a trapped opponent, for example, or dismiss it on command. Material component is a glove. It's a pretty cool disable spell. Again, I'd say that's a 3-star disable spell. Since there's no save against it. And it works against giant dragons. Bloodstone's Spectral Steel. Do you know what? I feel like we have read these before, but we didn't fill in the chart, so. It lasts 1 hour per level. It takes a round to cast. The spell allows a wizard to create a quasi-real, vulture-like creature. The flying steed can carry the caster and one other person for every 3 levels, so 4. All passengers must be specifically named. The Spectral Steed looks like a huge skeletal vulture with tattered wings. As it flies, it utters hideous screeches that echo through the sky. The Spectral Steed flies at a movement rate of 4 per level of the caster to a maximum movement rate of 48, so it moves at movement rate 48 then. It appears with a bit and bridle, plus 1 saddle per passenger. All normal animals shun the Spectral Steed, and only monsters will attack it. The man has AC 18 and 10 hit points, plus 1 per level of the caster. If it loses all of its hit points, the steed disappears. It has no attack. Pretty cool. Better than Polymorph for flying. It's kind of evil, but I'd say that's a high quality utility spell. So, Chain Lightning. It does d6 damage per level, so it'll do 12 d6. The spell creates an electrical discharge that begins as a single stroke of lightning 2 feet wide, commencing from the fingertips of the caster. Unlike a lightning bolt spell, Chain Lightning strikes one object or creature initially, then arcs to a series of other objects or creatures within range, losing energy with each bolt. Jump. The bolt initially inflicts d6 damage per level of the caster to a maximum of 12 d6. So it's maxed out at 12 d6, I didn't realise that. Half damage if the opponent or creature rolls a successful saving throw. After the first strike, the lightning arcs to the nearest object or creature. Each jump reduces the strength by 1d6. Each gets a saving throw. Chain can strike as many times as the spellcaster has levels, although each creature or object can only be struck once. Direction is not a consideration when plotting Chain Lightning arcs. Distance is a factor. An arc cannot exceed the spell's range. If the only possible arc is greater than the spell's range, the stroke fades into nothingness. Okay, so the range is 100 yards. It's pretty good, but 12d6 is kind of bad, considering normal lightning bolt does 10d6. I'd give it a 2 for damage, really. Contingency. This is a good one. Okay, it takes a turn to cast. And it lasts for 1 day per level. So it's pretty good. It lasts, like, almost 2 weeks. By means of this spell, the wizard is able to place another spell upon his person, so that the latter spell will come into effect under the conditions dictated during the casting of the contingency spell. The contingency spell and the spell it is to bring into effect are cast at the same time. The 1 turn casting time indicating is for the total of both castings. The spell to be brought into effect by the prescribed contingency must be one that affects the wizard's person, featherfall, levitation, fly, feign death, and be a spell of level no higher than 1/3 of the caster's experience level rounded down, but not higher than 6th. So that could be up to 4th level. Only 1 contingency can be placed on the spellcaster at any one time. If a second is cast, the first one, if still active, is cancelled. The conditions needed to bring the spell into effect must be clear, although they can be rather general. For example, a contingency spell cast with an airy water spell might prescribe that any time the wizard is plunged into or otherwise engulfed in water or similar liquid, the airy water spell will instantly come into effect. Or a contingency could bring a featherfall spell into effect any time the wizard falls more than 2 feet. In all cases, the contingency immediately brings into effect the second spell, the latter being cast instantaneously when the prescribed circumstances occur. Note that if complicated or convoluted conditions are prescribed, the whole spell complex, the contingency spell and the companion magic, may fail when called upon. The material components of the spell are, in addition to those of the companion spell, 100 gold pieces worth of quicksilver and an eyelash of an ogre mage, Chiron, or similar spell-using creature. In addition, the spell requires a statuette of the wizard carved from elephant ivory, which is not destroyed, though it is subject to wear and tear, which must be carried on the person of the spellcaster for the contingency spell to perform its function when called upon. I mean, I feel like this is a 3-star utility spell. Death spell. Okay, 30-foot cube per level, so massive range, AoE even. When a death spell is cast, it snuffs out the life forces of creatures in the area of effect instantly and irrevocably. Such creatures cannot be raised or resurrected, but an individual slain in this manner might be brought back via a wish. The number of creatures that can be slain is a function of their hit dice. See the book for the table. So if they're under 2 hit dice, it's 4 d20 creatures. For example, a mixed group of 20 goblins, 8 gnolls, and 4 ogres led by a hill giant are caught in the area of the death spell. The 4d20 gives a roll of 53. 20 of this eliminates goblins, 16 kills the gnolls, and the remaining 17 kills 2 ogres. The remaining 7 points are enough to kill 1 more ogre. The other 2 ogres and the hill giant are unharmed. The death spell, there's no save against that. Death spell does not affect lycanthropes, undead, or creatures from planes other than the prime material. The material component of the spell is a crushed black pearl with a minimum value of 1,000 gold pieces. Well, it's an instant death spell, but it's expensive. Demi Shadow Magic. The spell is similar to the 5th level spell Shadow Magic, but this spell enables the casting of a partially real 4th and 5th level evocation. Cone of Cold, Wall of Fire, Wall of Ice, Cloud Kill. If recognized as Demi Shadow... So this basically allows you to cast other spells, but at a lower level than the spell slot. One thing I'm not sure is, do you require to know the other spell that you want to cast? Let's just check that. Yeah, it doesn't say, so I feel like you don't need to actually know the spell. Which is pretty cool. Has good utility. A lot of good spells at this level. Not that I'm too surprised by that. Ah, Dimensional Blade. Now this is a good one. Lasts for 1 round per level, and it's cast upon an object. This spell makes a single weapon incredibly sharp by reducing one of its physical dimensions to an infinitesimally small measurement. The Dimensional Blade can slash through matter with as much effort as it takes to wave a stick through the air. Even stone and iron can be carved to pieces with ease. The spell can be cast on almost any handheld slashing weapon, as well as a few thrown weapons of this type, such as the Chakram, Shuriken, or Hand Axe. Against creatures, the Dimensional Blade ignores any portion of armor class derived from armor itself. Only magical and dexterity adjustments affect the opponent's AC. For example, a warrior in chainmail +2 with a dexterity of 17 is normally AC 20, but against the Dimensional Blade he only applies 3-point adjustment for dexterity and 2-point magical adjustment for a total of AC 15. Creatures wearing purely magical armor, such as Brace of Defense, may keep the full magical adjustment. Monsters with thick or toughened hides, such as dragons, may lose part of the armor class at the DM's discretion. The weapon gains a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls in any event, but the wielder ignores any strength-based combat adjustments. Muscle power doesn't help the blade at all. The Dimensional Blade is also quite effective against inanimate objects. Any object with a diameter or thickness smaller than the blade's length must make a saving throw versus disintegration when struck or be clearly severed in twain. Larger objects can be sawed through or sliced away at a rate of about 5 cubic feet per round. It's dangerous to attempt to disarm a Dimensional Blade. The weapon used must make an item saving throw versus disintegration or be destroyed. Finally, the blade is also effective against phased or ethereal creatures, since part of its existence is forced into the ethereal plane. If the wielder has some way to detect creatures concealed in this way, the blade can strike and affect them normally, but without the power to negate armor class. The wizard must touch the weapon to be affected by the spell, but afterward anyone may wield it. The material component is a razor-thin shard of glass. It's a good spell. Not much else to say about that. Yeah, Neil might just read that as saying it doesn't work against dragons. Disintegrate, 5 yards per level. Affects 1 creature or a 10x10x10 cube. Save to negate. The spell causes matter to vanish. It affects even matter or energy of a magical nature, such as a Bigby's Forceful Hand, but not a Globe Invulnerability or an anti-magic shell. Disintegration is instantaneous and its effects are permanent. Any single creature can be affected, even undead. Non-living matter up to a 10x10x10 cube can be obliterated. The spell creates a thin green ray that causes physical matter touch to glow and vanish, leaving traces of fine dust. Creatures that successfully save versus spell have avoided the ray. Material items have resisted the magic and are not effective. Only the first creature or object struck can be affected. I mean, is that really that good? I think it's kind of a bit shitty. I'm not feeling it. Ensnarement. Duration is special. Casting time 1 turn. Casting the spell attempts a dangerous act to lure a powerful creature from another plane to specifically prepare a trap where it will be held until it agrees to perform 1 service in return for freedom from the ensnarement spell. The type of creature to be ensnared must be known and stated, and if it has a specific, proper, or given name, This must be used in casting the ensnarement spell. The spell causes an awareness of a gate-like opening on the plane of the creature to be ensnared. A special saving throw is then made to determine if the creature detects the nature of the planar opening as a trap or believes it to be a gate. To save, the creature must roll equal to or less than its intelligence on d20. The score is modified by the difference between the creature's intelligence and that of the caster. If the creature has a higher score, the difference is subtracted from its dice roll to the save. If the saving throw succeeds, the creature ignores the spell and the spell fails. If it fails, then it steps through the opening as ensnared. When so trapped, the other planar creature can freely attack this ensnaring wizard unless the caster has created a warding circle. Such circles may be temporarily drawn by hand or permanent, inlaid and carved. Even with such protection, the entrapped creature may break free and wreak its vengeance upon the caster. A hand-drawn circle has a base failure chance of 20%, while one unlaid or carved has a base of 10%. And that is for the first time it is used to determine whether or not the job was done properly. The base chance is modified by the difference between the wizard's combined intelligence and the experience level, and the intelligence and the experience level are hit die of the creature ensnared. If the spellcaster has a higher total, I mean, I don't see how this is that useful. Could be pretty useful. It's niche, but in the right circumstances, it could be very good. Yeah, but it won't work on Scoria because she'll pass her safe, and she has magic resistance as well. Just won't work. Etherealness, I mean, it's a good spell, but not really for me since Anton can cast it. Just last an hour per level. My version. Maybe we'll put that up to 2. Gaius, I would say, oh shit, is a 3-star utility spell. Globe of Invulnerability creates an immobile, shimmering magical sphere that prevents any 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th level spells from penetrating. Any type of spell can be cast out of the sphere. Globe can be brought down by Dispel Magic. It's actually pretty good, this. Because I can cast through it. It doesn't disable our items like Anti-Magic Field. And it would protect us from Dispel Magic. But it means I can't move, which means winning initiative. But it does have a casting time of 1 round. This is the problem with it. The Breath Weapon will be off before I can cast it. No, the Dispel will be off before I can cast it, I mean. Still a good protection spell, though. Greater Sign of Sealing takes a turn. Permanent duration. Okay. This always catches my eye. More potent form of Lesser Sign of Sealing. Spell allows the caster to guard an item or portal and prevent all other creatures from opening or passing through the sealed item or surface. Greater Sign has several effects. First of all, it affects a doorway or item that opens, i.e. a chest, as if it's wizard locked. If placed in an open corridor or archway to prevent passage, the Greater Sign also creates a magical barrier that repels all who tries to pass. Finally, if the protected doorway or item is forced open or destroyed, the sign itself is not only destroyed but also releases a spell upon the offending creature. The spell held by the sign is cast into the ward when the Greater Sign is created, and any spell a caster has memorized may be used in this way, from a fireball or shocking grasp to a very nasty wish or a polymorph. The range of the sign's retributive spell is 10 yards per caster level, so it's possible to destroy the warding from a safe distance. Okay, it's pretty cool. It's niche, but it's cool. Guards and wards. This is a cool one, this. This, like, enchants, like, a castle or a building. So it makes corridors misty with reduced visibility. It locks all the doors. Stairs are all filled with webs. Where there are choices in directions, such as cross or side passage, a minor confusion spell functions, so as to make it 50% probable the intruders believe they are going in the opposite direction. The whole area radiates magic, therefore denying detect magic spell. 1 door per level experienced by the wizard is covered in an illusion to as if it was a plain wall. The wizard can place one of the following additional magical effects: dancing lights, a magic mouth, a stinking cloud, a gust of wind, a suggestion. So I like this spell. It's niche. But it's cool. And if Imric retires as an Archmage, I would like to cast it on my tower. No, I don't have them yet. It's for after level up. Even for attacking a castle yourself, you could basically imprison the occupants before going in. I didn't think of using it like that. That's funny. Mass suggestion. Lasts 4 turns plus 4 turns per level. Holy shit. Wait. So this lasts 52 turns. So, like, almost 9 hours. Enables the wizard to influence the actions of one or more chosen creatures. So it's 1 creature per level. In the same way as a suggestion spell. Up to 1 creature per experience level of casting influence, provided that all subject creatures are within the 30-yard range. It doesn't work on undead. Must be a reasonably worded and understood by creatures. Must be the same for all hearing it. Creatures saving versus spell are unaffected. Saving throws against the spell suffer a penalty of -1. And if a single creature is to be affected, its saving throw suffers a -4. Note that a very reasonable suggestion can cause the saving throws to be made with additional penalties. A mass suggestion can continue in effect for a considerable duration at the DM's discretion. Conditions that will trigger a special action can also be specified. If the condition is not met before the spell expires, the action will not be performed. You know, it's pretty cool.